Your morning decides everything, and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. How did you start your morning today? Did you jump out of bed, feeling focused and grateful? Or did you scroll through your phone for 30 minutes, still tired, already behind, already frustrated? It may seem like a small thing, but let me tell you something I've learned from life, business, and failure. Your morning is not a small thing. In fact, your morning is everything. The way you start your day sets the temperature for everything that follows: your mindset, your productivity, your mood, your discipline, and even the quality of your relationships. Too many people want a successful life, but they start their day like amateurs. They wake up late, eat in a rush, stress over traffic, complain about emails, and then wonder why they feel out of control. It's like trying to run a marathon without tying your shoes. Now, I am not saying success comes from just waking up early. No, I know many people who wake up early and still waste time. What I'm saying is this: success begins when you take full ownership of your first hour. That's when you start separating the serious from the average. When you study hyper, forming people, entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, you'll notice something. Almost all of them have a morning routine, but more importantly, they protect that routine like it's their greatest asset. Why? Because it is. See, mornings are the most honest part of your day. There are no meetings, no distractions, no noise. It's just you and your future. What you choose to do in that quiet time reveals everything about your discipline, your focus, and your priorities. It doesn't take money to improve your morning. It doesn't take talent. It only takes commitment and self-respect. If you believe your dreams are valuable, you'll stop treating your mornings like they don't matter. Some people think they'll change their lives when they get a new job, a new opportunity, a new year. But the truth is, your life changes the moment you change your morning. It's not about the calendar, it's about the habit. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to change your income, start with your intention. If you want to grow your mindset, start with your morning. If you want to stop feeling lost, stop beginning the day without direction. Remember this: your morning is not just a routine, it's a declaration. It tells the world, I'm serious about my life, I'm ready for the day, and I will not waste the gift of time. So tonight, when you go to bed, don't just plan your schedule, plan your mindset. And tomorrow morning, when that alarm rings, don't snooze your future. Get up and own it. People often think success is about big decisions, $1,000,000 ideas, or sudden breakthroughs, but it's not. Success is hidden in the tiny choices most people ignore, especially the ones made in the first hour of the morning. That's where the real battle is won or lost. If you win the morning, you win the day. And if you win the day again and again, you start winning at life. Let's think about how most people start their day. The alarm goes off. They hit snooze once, maybe twice. They scroll through social media, lying in bed for 20 to 30 minutes, consuming other people's lives before they've even had time to think about their own. Then they rush to shower, grab a bite. If there's time, get frustrated in traffic and arrive at work already exhausted, mentally and emotionally. That's not starting the day, that's surviving it. When you start your morning in chaos, your whole day gets infected with that energy. You feel reactive instead of proactive. You're catching up instead of creating. You're overwhelmed by small things because your mind never had time to find clarity. But what if you changed just that first hour? What if you treated your morning like it was the most important meeting of your life? Let me tell you something simple but powerful. How you begin determines how you behave. When you take control of your morning, you take control of your state, your emotions, and your priorities. It's like setting the tone before a concert. If the first note is wrong, the whole song feels off. But if the first note is clean, clear, and strong, the rest follows with harmony. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. to be successful. That's not the point. You need to wake up with intention, whether it's 5 a.m. or 8 a.m. What matters is how you use those first minutes. Are you feeding your mind or numbing it? Are you preparing your body or punishing it? Are you aligning with your goals or avoiding them? These small decisions build the architecture of your entire day. I've met people who say, I'm not a morning person. That's fine, but being a night owl isn't an excuse to start the day like a victim. You don't have to love mornings, but you must respect them. The people who consistently achieve more are not always the smartest or fastest. They are just more consistent with their preparation, and morning is where that preparation begins. Think of your morning like an airport runway. If the plane takes off correctly, the flight is smoother. If something is wrong on the runway, the journey becomes turbulent. So what does a powerful morning look like? It's different for everyone, but there are some habits that work for almost anyone. Start by keeping the phone away. The first thing you consume each day should not be the opinions, achievements, or dramas of other people. Your mind is like a sponge in the morning. Soak it in something positive, something purposeful. Maybe that's a few minutes of meditation, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's reviewing your goals, or even just sitting quietly and breathing. These things sound small, but they build massive mental clarity over time. Movement is also key. You don't have to run 10 kilometers or lift heavy weights. Just move, walk, stretch, do yoga, dance, anything that tells your body we're awake, we're ready. The body and brain are connected. When you move, your energy rises. When your energy rises, so does your confidence. Another important part of winning the morning is planning. Take 5 to 10 minutes to look at your priorities, not your to-do list. Your real priorities. What matters most today, what task will move your life forward, not just keep you busy. When you begin the day with clarity, your decision making improves all day long. You stop being busy and start being effective. Let me share a truth that most people learn too late. If you don't design your morning, someone else will. The emails, the calls, the news, the gossip. If you let these things set your mood, you're giving away the most powerful part of your day to people who don't care about your growth. Protect your morning like it's sacred, because it is. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have time for this. But let's be honest, everyone has 10 to 15 minutes. The problem isn't time, the problem is priority. People spend hours watching videos, scrolling endlessly, complaining about stress. Yet the same people say they don't have time to build a morning routine. It's not a time issue, it's a choice issue. We must understand this. Success doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do every single day. The compound effect of strong mornings creates an unstoppable momentum. You start making better decisions. You respond instead of reacting. You feel proud instead of guilty. This emotional confidence stacks up until you become a different person. Calmer, sharper, more focused. And it's not just about career or business. Your relationships benefit too. When you enter the day with clarity and energy, you communicate better, you listen more, you become more patient with your family, your team, your friends. When you're at peace inside, you create peace outside. It's also worth mentioning that your morning begins the night before. You can't expect to rise like a leader if you sleep like a disaster. That means turning off the noise TV, phone drama, early enough to rest your mind. Preparation doesn't begin in the morning. It begins with the decision to respect the next day. If you treat your mornings like a ritual instead of a routine, you'll notice a shift. It may take days, weeks, or even months, but one day you'll wake up and realize you're no longer fighting the day, you're leading it. Winning the morning is not about perfection. You'll have days when you wake up tired or when things go wrong. That's okay. What matters is that you return to your rhythm. You keep the promise to yourself, because the more you keep that promise, the more self-respect you build, and self-respect is the foundation of all success. Every person you admire, every leader you follow, every athlete, artist, or innovator you study, they didn't get there by accident. They created structure. They took ownership of their habits, and almost all of them, whether they mention it or not, mastered the power of their morning. Your morning doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care if yesterday was a failure. Every sunrise gives you a clean slate, but that clean slate is only valuable if you use it. If you approach the morning with seriousness, with purpose, with gratitude, there's very little in life you can't achieve. So the next time you think about changing your life, don't look for something big. Look at how you start your day. The world will try to pull you in every direction, but your morning, that belongs to you. Own it. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for motivation. They wait for the right mood, the right season, the right energy to strike. And while they wait, someone else, less talented, less experienced, maybe even less fortunate, is moving forward. Why? Because that person chose discipline over inspiration. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And that is one of the greatest secrets of hyper-forming people. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait to feel excited. They train themselves to act regardless of emotion, because they understand a simple truth: if you rely on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Let me make it clear: motivation is a feeling, and feelings are temporary. Some days you'll feel like working hard, most days you won't, and if your performance depends on how you feel, then your results will always be average. But if you build the discipline to act with or without motivation, you rise above average, and you start becoming unstoppable. We all have days when we feel tired. We all wake up some mornings with doubts, with stress, with a desire to hit the snooze button and delay everything, but those moments are tests. That's when your real character is being shaped, and those who choose discipline pass the test, while those who choose comfort stay in the same place. You don't need to feel good to do good work. That's a myth. In fact, some of the best breakthroughs happen when you're tired, uninspired, or even frustrated, because that's when discipline takes over. That's when the habit you've built speaks louder than the emotion you feel. Discipline is not about being robotic. It's about being loyal to your values. Think of it this way: if you promise someone you love that you'd help them, you'd show up no matter what. So why don't you keep that same promise to yourself? Why do we cancel on our own dreams, but keep appointments with people who don't even believe in us? That's not kindness, that's neglect. The real difference between high achievers and everyone else is not talent, not education, and definitely not luck. It's consistency, and consistency only comes from discipline. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can post a quote and feel inspired for a week. But discipline is what keeps you going when no one is clapping, when results are slow, and when doubt creeps in. You must train yourself to do hard things, especially when you don't want to. That's where power comes from. Power is not found in the easy moments. It's found in the resistance, in the friction, in the decision to show up even when it's uncomfortable. Because every time you choose discipline, you build self-respect, and self-respect builds confidence. Most people have the wrong goal. They want to feel motivated every day, but motivation is not the goal. Progress is, and progress comes from structure, not feelings. So you must build systems around your goals, not just dreams, but processes. Create routines that support your purpose, because when discipline becomes your system, you don't need to think about what to do. You just do it. Let me give you an example. Let's say your goal is to write a book. If you wait until you feel inspired, you might write a page every few weeks, but if you sit down and write 500 words every morning, no matter what, you'll finish that book faster than anyone who's waiting for their creative flow. The discipline to sit down consistently, even when your ideas feel dry, will beat the artist who waits for a perfect moment. Discipline is also what keeps your emotions in check. When you're disciplined, you don't let anger control your mouth. You don't let anxiety control your decisions. You don't let laziness control your calendar. Instead, you lead with purpose. You act based on principle, not impulse. And you know what's funny? When you lead with discipline, motivation actually starts to follow. Most people think it's the other way around. They believe motivation comes first, but that's wrong. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. So when you take disciplined action, even in small steps, you start feeling more inspired. The engine starts moving, and once it's in motion, it becomes hard to stop. Some of the most successful people in the world didn't feel excited when they began. They just began. They woke up early when it was hard. They trained when no one was watching. They read when others were partying. They worked in silence while others were complaining, and they kept going, not because they were motivated, but because they were committed. Discipline is a habit of self-leadership. You don't wait for someone else to tell you what to do. You don't need to be pushed. You push yourself because you understand this is your life and no one is coming to rescue you. If you want to grow, you must take responsibility, and responsibility requires discipline. Let's talk about time. Every day, you get the same 24 hours as anyone else, but how you use those hours comes down to discipline. If you spend your mornings scrolling, your afternoons distracted, and your evenings numbing your mind, don't be surprised when life doesn't change. People say time is money, but time is more than that. Time is opportunity, and if you don't manage it with discipline, it slips through your fingers. And this isn't just about work. Discipline affects every area of life. Your health requires discipline to eat well, sleep early, and move your body. Your relationships require discipline to listen, to forgive, to be present. Your finances require discipline to save, invest, and say no to instant gratification. Without discipline, every area of your life slowly declines. Now here's the truth that many avoid. Discipline is boring, it's repetitive, it's uncomfortable, and that's exactly why most people run from it. But understand this, success is often boring too. It's not the highlight reels or big celebrations. It's the daily grind, the quiet consistency, the lonely moments where you choose the hard thing again and again. So stop chasing excitement, start chasing commitment. The excitement will wear off, but the results of discipline will stay with you forever. One day you'll look back and thank yourself, not for the days you felt motivated, but for the days you didn't quit. You are not supposed to feel inspired every day. That's not realistic. But you are capable of showing up every day. That is realistic. That is in your control. That's the path to mastery. Train yourself to be the kind of person who follows through, who doesn't wait to feel ready, who doesn't need a cheerleader to stay consistent. Become the person who acts with discipline, not because life is easy, but because your dreams are worth it, no matter how talented you are. If you don't have discipline, your potential will stay locked inside you. Talent without discipline is wasted, but discipline without talent, that can still change the world. The life you want is on the other side of the decisions you make when no one is watching, the moments when you're tired, mornings when you don't feel like it, the days when everything feels uphill. Those are the moments where discipline matters most, and those are the moments that define your destiny. What you allow in your first hour of the day becomes the tone for everything that follows. If your morning is filled with distractions, noise, rushing, and digital overload, your mind starts the day in survival mode. And when the brain starts in survival mode, don't expect it to shift into creation, clarity, or calm throughout the day. It rarely does. A chaotic morning doesn't stay in the morning. It leaks into your meetings, your conversations, your decisions, your emotions. Most people live scattered lives because they allow their mornings to be unstructured. They think they can start the day in a mess and still achieve focused success. But that's not how performance works. If your beginning is cluttered, your direction becomes clouded. The modern world rewards distraction, notifications, headlines, messages, noise, but clarity isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build. It starts the moment you wake up. It starts when you choose structure instead of stimulation. When you pick up your phone first thing in the morning and open social media or email, you're choosing chaos. You're telling your mind, let's begin the day by reacting to everything outside of our control. You're putting the world in the driver's seat before you've even had a chance to grab the wheel. And once you lose control of the morning, it's very hard to get it back. Let me say this clearly. How you start your day is a reflection of how much self-respect you have. If you believe your time is valuable, you'll stop handing over the first 60 minutes to things that steal your focus. If you think your energy matters, you'll stop draining it before breakfast. Your brain is most sensitive in the morning. It's like fresh snow. Whatever you step in first leaves deep footprints. That first input you allow into your mind, whether it's negative news or positive intention, will echo through your thoughts all day. So if you begin with chaos, don't be surprised when you spend the rest of your day feeling overwhelmed, scattered, reactive. One of the most powerful habits anyone can build is to claim the morning for themselves. No screen, no scrolling, no noise, for the first 30 minutes at least. Instead, give yourself peace, give yourself clarity, let your thoughts settle, let your body wake up naturally, give your mind a chance to breathe before it's bombarded by the demands of the world. Some people think this is soft. It's not. It's strategic. Clarity is a competitive advantage. It's business, in leadership, in relationships. Those who think clearly make better decisions, take smarter risks, and respond instead of react. And clarity starts with protecting your morning from confusion. Think about this. If your morning is always rushed, if you're always running late, always checking your phone, always behind on everything, how can you possibly perform at your best? You're building your day on panic, on adrenaline, on anxiety. You may think you're busy, but really you're just out of alignment. It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. No matter how beautiful the design is, eventually it crumbles under pressure. Morning chaos is the shaky foundation of life. You don't see the damage immediately, but over time, your thinking weakens, your focus scatters, your decisions suffer, and your energy crashes. Now, this doesn't mean your morning has to be perfect. Life happens, kids cry, alarms fail, responsibilities pile up, but there's a difference between occasional disruption and habitual chaos. One is out of your control, the other is created by your choices. And the truth is, most morning chaos is a choice. Hitting snooze repeatedly is a choice. Checking messages in bed is a choice. Skipping preparation is a choice. Drinking caffeine before water is a choice. Rushing instead of planning is a choice. These are not accidents. These are behaviors, and behaviors can be changed. Clarity doesn't demand perfection. It demands priority. You need to decide what matters most in your morning and protect it. Maybe it's 10 minutes of silence, maybe it's stretching, maybe it's reading, writing, walking. Whatever helps you center your mind, do it first, before the emails, before the noise, before the demands. People say they want peace, but peace isn't found, it's created. You create peace by starting your day with intention, not reaction. You create clarity by starting your day with alignment, not urgency, and you create focus by eliminating the habits that introduce chaos before the day even begins. Look at high performers in any field. Entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, they almost all have some kind of morning discipline. It's not because they have more time. It's because they understand that chaos in the morning is expensive. It costs energy. It costs clarity. It costs performance, and in a world where focus is rare, the people who protect it win. A powerful morning doesn't require 2 hours. It doesn't require waking up at 4 a.m. It just requires a system, a ritual, a set of actions that signal to your brain, this day matters. I'm in control. I choose clarity. Maybe that means getting up 15 minutes earlier to sit in silence. Maybe it means preparing your clothes and meals the night before. Maybe it means avoiding the phone for the first hour. Whatever it is, do it consistently, because consistency builds clarity, and clarity builds confidence. Now, I know this may sound simple, but don't confuse simple with easy. Most people won't do it. Most people will continue to live in confusion and call it normal. They'll continue to start their day in a fog and wonder why their life lacks direction. Don't be one of those people. There's nothing noble about rushing through life. There's nothing impressive about being busy all the time. What's impressive is knowing what matters, focusing on it with intensity, and ignoring the noise. That starts with how you wake up. That starts with how you begin your day. The first thoughts you think, the first words you speak, the first actions you take. These are the roots of your day. If those roots are buried in stress, reaction, distraction, then the tree that grows will bear the same kind of fruit. Reactive decisions, distracted work, and stressful emotions. But if the roots are calm, intentional, focused, you begin to build a different day, one with direction, one with momentum, one with control. That's how great days are built, not through luck, not through accident, through structure. Structure doesn't limit you, it frees you. When your morning is structured, your mind is freed up to focus on what truly matters. You're not using willpower just to survive the morning. You're using it to build progress, to create value, to lead others with calm energy. One of the best things you can do to change your life is change how you start your morning. Most people think transformation requires a big move, but often it starts with something as small as waking up 15 minutes earlier, or not checking your phone until after breakfast, or taking 3 deep breaths before getting out of bed. These small habits may seem insignificant, but over time they create clarity. And clarity leads to focus. Focus leads to momentum, and momentum leads to results. Morning chaos is not just a personal problem, it's a life pattern. If you don't fix it, it follows you into every area of your life. But when you replace chaos with calm, reaction with intention, noise with structure, you begin to transform not just your day, but your identity. You become someone who doesn't just hope for clarity. You become someone the way you spend your morning says more about you than your resume, your words, or your social media. Your morning is the mirror of your standards. It shows whether you demand excellence from yourself when nobody's watching, or whether you lower the bar the moment things feel uncomfortable. If you treat the morning like it's disposable, then don't be surprised when your time, energy, and opportunities start feeling disposable too. But when you approach the morning with structure, purpose, and high personal standards, you elevate every other area of your life. Because your standards don't just appear in the big moments, they are built in the small ones, repeated over and over until they become who you are. What do I mean by standards? It's simple. It's what you allow and what you don't. It's what you do and what you refuse to do. If you allow snoozing the alarm 5 times, that's a standard. If you always rush out of bed late and start your day without a plan, that's a standard. If you give yourself the gift of discipline, focus, and clarity each morning, that's a standard too. Your habits reflect your standards, and your morning habits are the most revealing of all. Why? Because in the morning, there's no audience, no pressure, no one to impress, just you and your decisions. So if you cut corners when you're alone, it's a clear signal that your personal standards are low. And when your personal standards are low, it always shows up somewhere else, whether in your business, your health, your relationships, or your results. High standards are not about being perfect. They're about being intentional. They're about making the conscious choice to rise above the level of good enough, because good enough is not where growth lives. Growth lives in the space between where you are and where you're capable of going, and the only way to close that gap is by raising what you expect from yourself, especially in the quiet hours of the morning. Every time you choose comfort over consistency, you lower your standard. Every time you let excuses replace effort, you lower your standard. But every time you get up early, not because it's easy, but because it's right, you're telling your future, I take myself seriously. People say they want a better life, a better body, a better income, a better relationship, but better doesn't show up just because you wish for it. Better shows up when your standards go up. And the fastest way to test your standards is to examine your mornings. Are you waking up on purpose or by accident? Are you starting your day with intention or by default? Are you leading the day or being dragged by it? High achievers don't wait for someone to check on them in the morning. They don't need supervision. They don't need applause. They're driven by internal standards, an inner scorecard. That's what separates them. They don't wake up just to survive the day. They wake up to lead it. Let's get practical. What does a high standard morning look like? It's not the same for everyone, but it always includes three things: order, discipline, and clarity. Order means there is a system, a structure. It could be as simple as making your bed, drinking water, or sitting in silence. But nothing is random. It is built intentionally. There is no chaos because you've created a framework. Discipline means you don't let feelings decide what gets done. You don't hit snooze 10 times. You don't scroll for an hour. You don't wait until you feel motivated. You move with commitment, not emotion. You take action whether you're in the mood or not, because high standards don't depend on mood. Clarity means you know what you're doing and why. You have a clear intention. You reflect. Review and plan. You're not reacting, you're directing. Even if it's 5 minutes of focused thinking, that clarity sets the direction for everything that follows. You don't need a fancy morning routine. You don't need 10 different steps. What you need is ownership. If your life matters, then your morning matters. And if your morning matters, you stop treating it like an afterthought. One of the biggest reasons people fail to improve is because they keep adjusting their goals but never raise their standards. They want a different result, but they still accept the same behavior. They want more income but keep the same laziness. They want more focus but tolerate daily distraction. They want confidence but choose comfort over discipline. And it all begins in the morning. The morning is not just a time slot, it's a message. It's your first decision, and every first decision of the day carries weight. It sets the tone, it creates momentum, it defines the day's energy. So if the first thing you do is check social media, complain, or skip everything that brings structure, you are not just wasting time, you're lowering the standards of your life. Raising your morning standards doesn't mean becoming a machine. It doesn't mean waking up at 4 a.m. and doing 50 things. It means becoming serious about who you want to be. It means acting like your time is valuable. It means refusing to let the first hour of your day be hijacked by laziness, distraction, or excuses. It means you hold yourself accountable because nobody else will. You are responsible for your morning. You are responsible for what you do when no one's watching. You are responsible for raising the bar, not just for your comfort, but for your future. And the truth is, it's not hard to change your morning. What's hard is letting go of the excuses you've been using to avoid change. Waking up 15 minutes earlier is not difficult. Saying no to the phone for the first hour is not impossible. Writing down your top 3 priorities takes less than 5 minutes. Drinking water and stretching takes no effort. But all of these actions send a loud message to your brain. We have standards here. Over time, these small decisions start shaping your identity. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who is chasing success, but as someone who is building it, brick by brick, day by day, starting with how you wake up. People will notice it in your energy, in the way you speak, in the way you lead, because when you hold high standards in private, they eventually become obvious in public. You stop talking about improvement and start becoming the proof of it. So every morning, you're not just waking up, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. You're either reinforcing your old self or you're creating a new one. That choice doesn't come later in the day, it comes first. That's when the transformation starts, not with motivation, not with luck, not with outside praise, but with a simple, silent commitment to higher standards. Your morning reveals what you truly believe about your life. It reveals how seriously you take your time, your goals, your health, your growth. So if you want to change the way the world sees you, change the way you treat your mornings, because the world doesn't respect people who don't respect themselves. And the first sign of self-respect is what you do when no one is looking, especially in the first hour of the day. Who creates it every single morning, because the way you start your morning decides everything. Morning is the most honest part of your day. It doesn't lie to you, it doesn't flatter you, it doesn't care who you are on social media, what title you carry at work, or what you tell the world you're going to do. The morning only reflects what you actually do when nobody is watching. In silence of the early hours, there are no distractions, no audience, no applause. Just you, your thoughts, your habits, and your decisions. What you choose in that moment tells the truth about who you really are. And if you listen carefully, your morning will always give you feedback. Either it whispers you're living in alignment, or it reminds you you're falling behind your potential. The people who win at life aren't the ones who talk the most, or post the most, or even have the most ideas. They are the ones who quietly do the work, consistently, especially in the early hours, because they understand that how they begin the day is how they define themselves. It's easy to look confident in front of a crowd. It's easy to say the right words when others are listening, but confidence is not built in public. Confidence is built in private. It's built in those invisible moments when you decide to stick to your routine, when you show up for yourself, when you push through the temptation to delay or distract. There is a unique honesty to the morning. In that stillness, there's no place to hide from your own patterns. You'll notice if you're tired because you've been staying up too late. You'll notice if your habits are weak because you've let your mind drift instead of lead. You'll notice the tension between who you say you want to become and how you're actually living. The morning doesn't expose you to others. It exposes you to yourself. That's why many people avoid facing the morning with intention. They don't want to confront the gap between their ambition and their discipline, so they numb it with scrolling, rushing noise. But avoidance doesn't erase the truth. It only delays the change. Every morning you get a chance to examine yourself clearly, before the busyness, before the emails, before the outside noise. You get to check your alignment. Are your actions reflecting your goals? Are your priorities showing up in your schedule? Are your habits helping or hurting you? The answers are not in a book, a video, or a seminar. They're right there in your morning. If you say health matters to you, what did you eat this morning? Did you stretch, hydrate, or move your body? If you say focus matters to you, did you begin with clarity, or did you let your phone dictate your mindset? If you say success matters to you, what progress did you make before the world woke up? The morning gives you a moment to recalibrate, to say, this is what I stand for. This is how I want to show up. It's a space for self-respect, a space for recalibration, a space to set the tone, so that no matter what comes later in the day, you've already claimed victory within yourself. Some of the most successful people I've met, they don't always have complicated morning routines, but they have honest ones, and that's what matters. Their mornings aren't about showing off, they're about staying grounded. They do the same boring, powerful things every single day. Review goals, breathe, read, write, think, not because they're trying to be perfect, but because they refuse to lie to themselves. In the modern world, we are surrounded by noise. Everything wants our attention. Everything wants a reaction. The only place left that's truly yours is your early morning. If you give that away too, then you'll live your life reacting instead of leading. And it's not about how early you wake up. It's about how intentionally you begin. Some people wake up at 5 a.m. and waste 2 hours. Others wake at 8 a.m. and lock into focus within 5 minutes. The time on the clock doesn't define your discipline. Your mindset does. The most dangerous thing you can do in the morning is reach for your phone. When you do that, you skip past your own thoughts and immediately enter someone else's world. Messages, news, notifications, problems. You absorb other people's urgency before you've even decided what matters to you today. That habit, over time, steals your clarity. You begin each day by reacting, by consuming, by comparing. You forget your own voice. You forget your own mission. You start living on autopilot, chasing what's urgent instead of what's meaningful. And it all begins with how you treat that first moment of your day. What you do in the first 30 minutes of your day is not just a routine, it's a ritual, it's a statement. It tells your mind, I am either in control or I am being controlled. If you start with randomness, don't expect focus. If you start with clutter, don't expect calm. If you start with chaos, don't expect clarity. Your morning is not the warm-up. It's the first move in the game, and just like chess, your first move matters. It determines your position, it determines your advantage, and most importantly, it determines your identity. Over time, your identity is shaped not by your intentions, but by your patterns. What you do every morning becomes who you are. So if your morning is full of broken promises, snoozed alarms, missed workouts, skipped reflections, then what are you telling yourself about your discipline? Every time you break a promise to yourself, you lose trust in yourself. And when self-trust goes down, so does confidence. You begin to doubt, you begin to hesitate, you begin to shrink your goals, not because the goal is impossible, but because your consistency has disappeared. But the good news, you can rebuild that trust, one morning at a time. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just start by winning the first 30 minutes. Just start by keeping one small promise. Just start by choosing silence over distraction or reflection over reaction. Because when you do that, you start sending a new message to yourself. You say, I show up. I follow through. I keep the promises I make to myself. That is how self-respect grows. That is how confidence is built. That is how greatness begins. It's not about perfection. Some mornings you'll feel tired. Some mornings you'll slip. That's okay. What matters is that you keep returning to discipline. What matters is that you stop lying to yourself. What matters is that your morning is shaped by standards, not feelings. The world often measures people by their achievements, but real transformation begins in those quiet, invisible hours where you set the standard for your day. It's the invisible reps, those early morning moments of effort, honesty, reflection, that eventually create visible success. So take your morning seriously, not because others will see it, but because it's the most honest space you have to shape who you are becoming.